The southern tamandua, also called the collared anteater or lesser anteater, is a species of anteater from South America. It is a solitary animal, found in many habitats from mature to highly disturbed secondary forests and arid savannas. It feeds on ants, termites, and bees. Its very strong foreclaws can be used to break insect nests or to defend itself. The southern tamandua is found in South America from Venezuela and Trinidad to northern Argentina, southern Brazil, and Uruguay at elevations to 1,600 meters, or 5,200 feet. It inhabits both wet and dry forests, including tropical rainforest, savanna, and thorn scrub. It seems to be most common in habitats near streams and rivers, especially those thick with vines and epiphytes, presumably because its prey is common in these areas. The oldest fossil tamanduas date from the Pleistocene of South America, although genetic evidence suggests they may have diverged from their close relative, the giant anteater, in the late Miocene, some 12.9 million years ago. The southern tamandua is a medium-sized anteater, though can vary considerably in size based on environmental conditions. It has a head and body length ranging from 34 to 88 centimeters, that's 13 to 35 inches long, and a prehensile tail 37 to 67 centimeters, or 15 to 26 inches long. Adults weigh from 1.5 to 8.4 kilograms, 3.3 to 18.5 pounds, with no significant difference in size between males and females. Like their close relative, the northern tamanduas, they have 4 clawed digits on the forefeet and 5 on the hind feet, and walk on the outer surfaces of their forefeet to avoid puncturing their palms with their sharp claws. With regard to reproduction in southern tamanduas, females are polyestrous. Mating generally takes place in the fall. Gestation ranges from 130 to 190 days, and one young is born in the spring. At birth, the young anteater does not resemble its parents. Its coat varies from white to black. It rides on the mother's back for some time and is sometimes deposited on a safe branch while the mother forages. The tamandua is mainly nocturnal, but is occasionally active during the day. The animals nest in hollow tree trunks or in the burrows of other animals, such as armadillos. They are solitary, occupying home ranges that average from 100 to 375 hectares, 250 to 930 acres, depending on the local environment. Southern tamanduas eat ants and termites in roughly equal proportions, although they may also eat a small quantity of fruit. They locate their food by scent and prey on a wide range of species, including army ants, carpenter ants, and Nasutermes. Note that the daytime sighting of the tamandua seen here is an unusual occurrence. As we noted earlier, they are usually active at night. One may wonder how this 18-pound mammal can survive in country that has jaguars and pumas roaming about. It is notable that the southern tamandua uses its powerful forearms in self-defense. If it is threatened in a tree, it grasps a branch with its hind feet and tail, leaving its arms and long curved claws free for combat. If attacked on the ground, this anteater backs up against a rock or a tree and grabs the opponent with its forearms. Such defense can be very effective. It is notable that the striated heron was long considered to be a conspecific with the closely related North American species, the green heron, and the closely related Galapagos species, the lava heron. They were collectively called green-backed herons. Now all 3 of these are regarded as separate species. Unlike most water birds, the anhinga doesn't have waterproof feathers. While that may seem like a disadvantage for their watery lifestyle, their wet feathers and dense bones help them slowly submerge their bodies under the water so that they can slyly stalk fish. The name anhinga comes from the Tupi Indians in Brazil, meaning devil bird or evil spirit of the woods. The marsh deer is the largest deer species from South America, reaching a length of 2 meters, 6.6 feet, and a shoulder height of 1.2 meters, 3.9 feet. It is found in Argentina, Bolivia, Peru, Brazil, Uruguay, and Paraguay. Formerly found in much of tropical and subtropical South America, it ranged east of the Andes, south from the Amazon rainforest, west of the Brazilian Atlantic rainforest, and north of the Argentinian Pampa. Today it is largely reduced to isolated populations at marsh and lagoon zones in the Paraná, Paraguay, Aragaia, and Guapore river basins. Small populations also occur in the southern Amazon, including Peru, where this species is protected in Bahuaja Sonene National Park. It is listed as a vulnerable species by the IUCN and on CITES Appendix 1.
Oh, that's an immature night heron?
Yes.
I wondered. I thought it might be.
It may come as a surprise to see noisy green and gray parrots racing through cities in the United States, but monk parakeets, native to South America but long popular in the pet trade, established wild populations there in the 1960s. Here we see the monk parakeet, also known as the Quaker parrot, in its native habitat in Brazil. This is the only species of parakeet to nest communally. Dozens live together year-round in large, multi-family stick nests built in trees and on power poles. Their bulky nests provide a year-round home for the colony. The insulation these nests provide may be one reason why monk parakeets are able to survive cold winters as far north as Chicago and New York City. A single nest structure typically contains up to 20 nest chambers, and in extreme cases, it may house more than 200 nests. In their native Argentina, monk parakeets sometimes adopt old nests of other species. Some ornithologists have suggested that this behavior may have been the first step, evolutionarily speaking, to transitioning from nesting in tree cavities to constructing stick nests. Also notable is that monk parakeets maintained in captivity can learn to mimic human speech. Monk parakeets can live 6 years or more in the wild, and in captivity they often live as long as 15 years. Known as either the turquoise-fronted Amazon or turquoise-fronted parrot, and blue-fronted Amazon or blue-fronted parrot, this species has been considered to be one of the most abundant of its genus. Found from northeast Brazil south to Bolivia, Paraguay, and northern Argentina, the species is known from a variety of more or less wooded habitats, including cerrado and chaco scrub, gallery forests, and palm groves. Given its overall abundance, the blue-fronted parrot has been heavily targeted by the cage bird trade. Although, on the plus side, it has almost certainly benefited from ongoing agricultural expansion through much of its range. Like many Amazonas species, the plumage is mainly green, with a largely yellow face and a blue frontal band, as well as red speculum. The scaly-headed parrot is known from a very broad range across eastern South America, from northeast Brazil south to southern Bolivia, Paraguay, and northern Argentina. Although rather rare in the northernmost third of its range, elsewhere the scaly-headed parrot is generally common over much of southern Brazil, but huge numbers have been taken for the pet trade in Argentina. This, of course, has led to a decline in the number of wild individuals living in Argentina.
Scaly Amazon or scaly parrot.
The yellow-rumped cacique is a widely distributed icterid and is a common sight throughout lowland evergreen forests from Panama and Trinidad south to Peru, Bolivia, and central Brazil. Endemic to Brazil and considered to be globally threatened, the chestnut-bellied guan is most easily encountered in the northern Pantanal. This is a medium-sized guan with a pale brown head, darker brown upper parts, and chestnut rufous underparts, which are brightest on the belly and flecked white. There is also a whitish supercilium and a red-orange throat and dewlap. Relatively little is known of this species' natural history. Black-crowned night heron is a medium-sized heron found throughout a large part of the world, except in the coldest regions and Australasia. Here, tucked away under the foliage, occurring near a large pond, is an adult boat-billed heron. Living a reclusive life in the depths of swamps, the boat-billed heron feeds at night, then spends its days roosting among the thick trees and brush. The boat-billed heron chooses higher branches in trees with dense foliage for nesting, but it will spend its days roosting closer to the ground. It prefers the deep cover of mangroves or similar brush. Its choice of living conditions contributes to the heron's reclusive reputation, since its habitat is largely inaccessible to man. This, along with its being active only at night, means some biological aspects of this species remain unknown. The adult rufescent tiger heron is relatively easy to distinguish from phoceated and bare-throated tiger herons, the other two species. This is because it is rufous in color on the head and neck. Young birds, however, are much more difficult to identify, as can be seen here in this rufescent tiger heron juvenile. The wattle jacana is distributed throughout the tropics and subtropics of South America and is common in just about any permanent and seasonally flooded freshwater wetland. Floating vegetation is the limiting substrate for this species and will not occur in any wetland where such vegetation is absent. It uses its greatly elongated toes and claws to distribute its weight when walking on this notably submissive vegetation while foraging primarily for insects. The jabiru, a typical stork of the New World, ranges from Mexico to Argentina. It belongs to the stork family, Ciconiidae. It is mostly white, with the naked skin of the head and upper neck being both black and red. The unusually heavy bill is slightly upturned. The jabiru is one of the largest American flying birds, reaching a length of 4.5 feet.
Philip, so they have one marsh deer. I think so. Up in the tower, we have a chance to take good picture. Yeah? The marsh deer. Yes, let's go there.
The black-capped Donacobius is a familiar sight in marshes and wet pastures across much of South America, often calling attention to itself with loud duetting calls. This distinctive bird long resisted efforts by ornithologists to classify it. Formerly, it was known as the black-capped mocking thrush, when it was thought to belong to the New World family of thrashers and mockingbirds, but it is now recognized as the sole member of a family with affinities to Old World warblers. This Plumbeus ibis parent is still being harried by its 2 chicks. These chicks are trying very hard to get a meal from the parent's crop. However, it appears that this parent might be of the view that these fledglings should start finding their own meals. The black-tailed marmoset is a species of marmoset native from Central South America, where it ranges from the south-central Amazon in Brazil, south through the Pantanal and eastern Bolivia to the Chaco in far northern Paraguay. It is the southernmost member of the genus Myco and the only marmoset species where most of its range is outside the Amazon. Black-tailed marmosets are diurnal and arboreal, using their claws to climb trees. Originally rainforest inhabitants, plantations have caused them to expand their range. They spend the night in tree hollows or in very thick vegetation. They live together in small groups and mark their territory with scent glands, driving out intruders by shouting or by facial expressions.
One there, another one's coming there behind. Now,
The largest parrot in the world, the hyacinth macaw, is an iconic species of the Pantanal. Let's just watch them and enjoy the interactions of these very intelligent parrots.
Yeah, watch it, maybe choose this hard.
Notice that preening one another is an important social bonding aspect of many parrot species, hyacinth macaws being no exception to this general rule. The Nande parakeet, also called the black-hooded parakeet, is a distinctive small parrot of south-central South America. This parakeet occurs from southeastern Bolivia and southwestern Brazil south to northern Argentina. It occupies gallery forest, deciduous forests, and palm stands. It primarily occurs in the Pantanal, although it also occurs in moist Chaco woodland and low dry scrub. Nande parakeets feed mainly on palm nuts, but will take a variety of other seeds, fruits, flowers, and buds, which often are procured from the ground. The strange warty-faced Muscovy duck causes confusion for some birdwatchers, as it's very distinctive and quite commonly seen, yet does not appear in some field guides. Truly wild individuals are restricted to South Texas and Point South, but domesticated versions occur in parks and farms across much of North America. One of the oldest domesticated fowl species in the world, the Muscovy duck was already being kept by native people in Peru and Paraguay when the early Spanish explorers arrived. The word Muscovy may refer to the Muscovy Company, incorporated in London in 1555, which transported these ducks to England and France. The Muscovy ducks seen here are, of course, wild examples. With an estimated 100,000 to 200,000 jacare caiman living in the Pantanal, it is not surprising that there are areas where one will find large groupings of young. Here we see quite a number of jacare caiman babies, and however one may feel about their appearance when they become adults, it is very hard to deny that they are quite cute at this size. The green iguana is a commonly seen large reptile species of the Pantanal. The peach-fronted parakeet is an inhabitant of savanna, gallery forest, and cerrado, from Suriname south to northern Argentina and west to extreme southeastern Peru. Peach-fronteds spend much of their time foraging on the ground where they feed on seeds, flowers, leaves, and insects. At times, peach-fronted parakeets also raid fields of soybeans, rice, and corn. The great rufous wood creeper is a species of bird in the Dendrocolaptinae subfamily, the wood creepers. It is found in Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay. At 5.5 ounces and 14 inches in length, this is the largest wood creeper species, and, if correctly allied with the family, it is the largest fernereid. A characteristic bird of open country, the campo flicker occupies savanna and scrubland. It has a few isolated populations in northeastern South America and in Amazonia, and is widespread in central South America. These woodpeckers are characterized by their black forehead, red and black malar, dark brown upperparts, and barred underparts. Campo flickers feed almost exclusively on the ground, walking or hopping along the ground in search of termites, ants, and beetles. They sometimes forage in large flocks.
Yeah, now it's...
The yellow-headed caracara is a small, pale caracara of open habitats in lowlands from Costa Rica south to northern Argentina and Uruguay. It is mostly buffy yellow with a narrow dark eye line, dark brown upperparts, and dark brown banding on the tail. It inhabits agricultural land, grassland, savanna, marshes, and particularly in Amazonia, successional growth along river courses. It feeds on an assortment of items, including carrion, arthropods, amphibians, and fruit, frequently feeding on the ground, alone or in small groups. This jabiru, seen at night, is apparently lunging at and feeding upon insects.
Todos turistas, não tem? Tem turista lá? Tá pouquinho lá. Vai trocar de carro, não tem? Não sei. Eu não entendi. Hã? De lá você vem pra cá, de lá eu vou pra cá.
Brockets, or brocket deer, are the species of deer in the genus Mazama. They are medium to small in size and are found in the Yucatan Peninsula, Central and South America, and the island of Trinidad. We see here the red and the brown brocket deer species. This brown brocket deer is taking up a classic deer defensive strategy by sitting down in the grass, hoping it will go unnoticed by any potential danger.
They stay still just in case if something happens, they start running away.
Po2.
With its characteristic drawn-out moaning growl, the vocalizations of the great potu are among the most exciting and perhaps most unsettling nocturnal sounds in the neotropics. Apart from its vocalizations, the great potu is an intriguing species. Great potus are nocturnal and feed on large flying insects and occasionally bats, which they capture in cellies from a high perch. We had a brief sighting of the Brazilian tapir mother and calf. Note that while the Brazilian tapir is an excellent swimmer and diver, it can also move quickly on land, even over rugged mountainous terrain. Its lifespan averages 25 to 30 years. Not surprisingly, a major component of the diet of the crab-eating raccoon is the red freshwater crab, which occurs here in the Pantanal. Notice that the coat of the crab-eating raccoon is thinner than the coat of the North American raccoon. This is an adaptation to living in the tropics. Chestnut-eared arasaris, close relatives of toucans, are often seen in pairs. The yellow-billed cardinal is actually not in the cardinal family. It is in the tanager family. The largest bird on the American continent, the greater rhea belongs to a group of flightless birds known as ratites, which lack the keel of the breastbone to which flight muscles attach in the flying birds. However, despite a superficial resemblance which led Charles Darwin to describe the species as a South American ostrich, the rhea is not thought to be closely related to the other members of this group, the ostrich, emu, cassowaries, and kiwis. The male greater rhea is slightly larger and grayer in color than the female, with a more pronounced dark patch on the neck and upper back. Adult black-collared hawks have very few similar species due to their distinct and unique collar and coloring. The only species of hawk that regularly occurs in the same region as the black-collared hawk that looks similar is the savanna hawk. The adult savanna hawks have the same buff coloring but lack the black collar, heavy black underwings, and the savanna hawks are very streaky compared to the black-collared hawks. And here is a photograph of the savanna hawk. It was taken in the same part of the Pantanal where we saw the black-collared hawk. We can note that the savanna hawk is a widespread raptor of open country habitats throughout the lowlands of tropical and subtropical South America. The six-banded armadillo, also known as the yellow armadillo, is an armadillo found in South America. The carapace is pale yellow to reddish brown, marked by scales of equal length and scantily covered by buff to white bristle-like hairs. The forefeet have 5 distinct toes, each with moderately developed claws. Six-banded armadillos are efficient diggers and form burrows to live in and search for prey. The armadillo is alert and primarily solitary. An omnivore, it feeds on insects, ants, carrion, and plant material. Due to their poor eyesight, armadillos rely on their sense of smell to detect prey and predators. Births take place throughout the year. Gestation is 60 to 64 days long, after which a litter of 1 to 3 is born. Weaning occurs at 1 month, and juveniles mature by 9 months. Fairly common, its range spans from Brazil and southern Suriname in the northeast through Bolivia, Paraguay, and Uruguay into northern Argentina in the southeast. Also known as the long-tailed otter, the neotropical otter possesses a remarkably long, cylindrical tail which makes up over 1/3 of its total body length. Like other otters, the neotropical otter is an efficient swimmer with an elongated body, flattened head, short limbs, and webbed feet. Its nostrils and small round ears can be closed while swimming. The grayish-brown fur of the neotropical otter is dense and short. Its underfur is protected by a layer of longer, coarse guard hairs. Lighter patches of fur occur around the throat area. This species has the typical robust shape and size characteristics of other American river otters. And in the same area where we saw the neotropical otter, we also saw the giant otter, the largest otter species in the world. We'll have more to say about this species in the third and final video in this Wildlife of the Pantanal series. One of our hummingbird sightings produced a couple of photographs. This is the glittering-throated emerald hummingbird. Despite its name, the throat of the glittering-throated emerald is not very helpful in its identification. Overall, this emerald is fairly nondescript, but the area of white on the central and lower underparts is fairly unique. Glittering-throated emeralds frequent the borders of dry, humid, and gallery forests and also inhabit second-growth open woodlands and gardens. They feed on nectar from flowering plants of all heights and even gather nectar from a perch. The gray-cowled wood-rail is the most widespread species of Aramides, occurring from southwestern Costa Rica south to northern Argentina. This species primarily occupies swampy forest and forest edge, and the margins of forest streams, and also occurs in mangroves and the edges of marshes. Gray-cowled wood-rails usually remain under vegetative cover or in thickets, but sometimes venture out into the open. The diet is mostly invertebrates, but presumably includes small vertebrates such as frogs and perhaps also seeds, berries, and palm fruits. The ring kingfisher seen here is on one of its favorite haunts, that of a perch overlooking water where it can catch fish. This rufescent tiger heron gingerly walks past a jacare caiman. And here we see in a nest 2 rufescent tiger heron chicks. These hatchlings remained extremely still so as not to be detected as I videoed them. Look how well they blend in with the environment. And look how very still they remain. A bird of the tropical waterways of Central and South America, the neotropic cormorant reaches the upper limits of its range in Texas and, occasionally, the Great Plains. Although it superficially resembles North America's other freshwater cormorant, the double-crested cormorant, the neotropic cormorant stands apart in various aspects of behavior as well as range. The black-striped capuchin, also known as the bearded capuchin, is a New World monkey in the Cebidae family of monkeys and is found in areas of Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Argentina. Like some other types of capuchins in South America, the black-striped capuchin has been observed using stones as anvils and hammers to access nuts inside hard shells. The black-striped capuchin has several adaptations specific to using stones as tools, including stronger back and leg muscles than are found on other species to allow for carrying stones while walking on only their hind legs. Once considered a subspecies of the tufted capuchin, the black-striped capuchin achieved species status only recently. The black-striped capuchin can be found in forest and woodland areas of Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, and Argentina. They prefer lower-lying forest regions along riverbanks, such as those found in the Caatinga, Cerrado, and Pantanal of Brazil, as well as those from the upper Juruá River east and south to Mato Grosso. The black-striped capuchin spends equal time between the forest canopy and the forest floor, depending on which source of food it is after at the time. With its entire habitat surrounded by populations of tufted capuchins, there has been much debate about awarding the black-striped capuchin species status until recently. The lesser yellow-headed vulture closely resembles the greater yellow-headed vulture and overlaps with that species in northern South America. Both species are largely black with yellowish heads.
Yellow-headed black vulture.
Yellow-headed black vulture.
Sunbitterns are found near forested streams in the foothills and lowlands of Central and South America. They feed primarily on insects and aquatic invertebrates, which they glean from rocks or catch with a quick thrust of their long pointed beak. In appearance, they are something like a cross between a rail and a small heron. Although these birds can often appear quite cryptic with their heavily barred plumage, spreading their wings and tail reveals the spectacular sunburst patterns for which they are named, and which plays an important role in intimidation displays. Sunbitterns can be tamed fairly easily and are kept frequently in zoos, where there are many records of pairs breeding successfully. Here we can see the dramatic display of the sunbittern's wings, which accounts for its common name. And here we can also see the very showy wings of the sunbittern as it flies away. All of the different troupial populations were formerly regarded as representing a single species, but nowadays 3 different species are recognized, of which the oran-backed troupial is the most widespread. It is found over much of the lowlands of northern and western Amazonia, and south to Paraguay and northeastern Argentina, and the species is generally found in close proximity to water.
Yeah, I know that we know the troupial because they have it in Puerto Rico. Yeah.
The toco toucan, an iconic bird of tropical South America, is no stranger to the Pantanal. Interestingly, recent research has revealed that the toco toucan's bill regulates the temperature of the toco's body. Indeed, it accomplishes this by regulating blood flow to the beak.